Living in Greece can feel like trying to stand still on a floor that keeps tilting. In the space of one working lifetime, the rules have flipped. Housing behaves like an international asset, but wages behave like a local afterthought. Based on Bank of Greece residential price data, sale prices in Attica, where Athens sits, were about 88% higher in Q2 of 2024 than in 2017. Nationwide, the increase was about 69% over the same period. That kind of jump would be survivable if paychecks were climbing too. They are not. As of April 1, 2025, Greece's statutory minimum monthly wage is €880 gross. Now place that beside what daily life demands in a city built for visitors: rent, energy, food, and transport, and the math collapses. This is why the crisis does not look like one single headline. It looks like 1,000 private calculations made every month at kitchen tables. Do we keep the apartment, or move further out and lose 2 hours a day commuting? Do we have a child, or do we keep the second job? Do we stay, or do we leave? And the pressure is not only coming from more people, it is coming from who those people are and what they can pay. Greece is now running an economy where the same street can hold two realities at once: a short-term rental priced for a week-long holiday, and a local wage that has to survive the whole month. Tourism is the engine that helped pull Greece forward after the financial collapse, but an engine that burns too hot can melt the parts around it. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates that in 2024, travel and tourism's total contribution was about 20% of gross domestic product and about 1/5 of employment, nearly 0.9 million jobs. That sounds like salvation. It also explains the trap. When one sector becomes the lifeline, everything else is forced to orbit it. In 2024, inbound travel reached about 40.7 million visitors, and travel receipts were about €21.6 billion, figures commonly reported, including cruise passengers. Those numbers are celebrated, and they should be. But they also describe a country whose most valuable spaces, its islands, its historic centers, its walkable neighborhoods, are being priced and organized around outsiders. If you are a local renter, you are not competing with another family anymore. You are competing with a global calendar. And once that shift happens, the market stops caring whether you grew up here. So how did Greece end up here? The answer starts long before Airbnb, long before remote work, and long before investors discovered Mediterranean value. It starts with a debt shock, so severe it rewired what Greece could afford to be, and what it was forced to sell. To see why Greece feels impossible now, you have to see what the 2010s did to wages, ownership, and the state. Inside the euro area, Greece could not unilaterally devalue its currency or run an independent monetary policy. Euro issuance and monetary policy sit with the euro system and the European Central Bank, so the adjustment hit the hardest place people. Austerity squeezed public services. Jobs turned precarious. Pay became fragile. A society that spends years cutting instead of building does not just lose money, it loses time. When the worst years eased, Greece rebuilt on the sector that could generate foreign revenue fast: tourism. Hotels expanded. Islands were marketed harder. Flights multiplied. Tourism created jobs, but many were seasonal. It also created a new incentive: convert housing into tourist inventory. This is where the housing crisis becomes something else. It is not only prices went up, it is the purpose of housing changed, and because tourism revenue concentrates in the same attractive places, it pushes capital into the same few postcodes year after year, until the local economy begins to feel like it is serving a different population. By July 2025, Greece's short-term rental market crossed a symbolic threshold: about 246,000 active listings and roughly 1.078 million beds. That scale shifts bargaining power. A landlord no longer has to negotiate with local tenants when the market offers a different customer with a different budget. A long-term renter pays monthly and expects stability. A tourist pays per night and expects novelty. One of those models outbids the other almost automatically. As supply is pulled out of the long-term market, the remaining apartments become trophies. Buyers are not only local families, they are investors chasing yield, foreigners chasing residency, and funds treating neighborhoods like spreadsheets. Greece's Golden Visa program was meant to attract investment, but minimum thresholds in high-demand zones have risen, up to 800,000 euros in areas such as Attica and certain islands, while other areas are generally 400,000 euros, with some 250,000 euro exceptions, such as specific conversion projects. The logic remains: property becomes a ticket, and when property becomes a ticket, it stops being a home first. Put it together, and you get a city optimized for turnover, short stays, fast cash, constant demand. Locals are left chasing smaller apartments, longer commutes, and higher shares of income sacrificed just to remain. And then comes the step that turns expensive into impossible. People start leaving. Once the math stops working, the exit becomes rational. Greece has lived through a brain drain that stripped out exactly the people a country needs to recover. Some analyses estimate that roughly 400,000 Greeks aged 25 to 39 have emigrated since 2009, though official age-specific totals are not available. Broader Eurostat-based analyses indicate that more than 500,000 Greek citizens left during the 2010s emigration wave, depending on definitions and coverage. This is not just demographics, it is an economic feedback loop. When skilled workers leave, services become scarcer. Scarcity raises stress. Stress lowers birth rates. Lower birth rates shrink the future workforce and tax base. A weaker tax base means weaker healthcare, pensions, and infrastructure. When public systems weaken, private costs rise. More private cost means less disposable income. Less disposable income makes rent feel heavier. Heavier rent pushes more people to leave. The latest widely reported official figure puts Greece's fertility rate at about 1.26 births per woman in 2023, far below replacement. A country cannot tourism its way out of that. Now back to street level. Living becomes impossible, not because Greece lacks beauty, but because stability is missing. That is why this story feels personal. It is not only about markets. It is about the collapse of predictable life steps. Finish school, find stable work, rent a decent place, start a family. Stability is missing because housing behaves like an international asset. Work is too often seasonal, underpaid, or precarious. Prices rose faster than income, so every year feels like a quiet pay cut. And the cruelest part is how normal it looks from the outside. Visitors see full restaurants and packed ferries. Investors see growth. Locals see a different Greece. An apartment is no longer a stepping stone into adulthood, but a permanent tax on your future. Even when the state intervenes, it collides with dependence. Tourism supports jobs and tax revenue. Foreign money props up real estate values. Tightening rules risks hurting the very streams keeping the system afloat. Still, Greece has started pulling the emergency brake. A ban on first-time short-term rental registrations in Athens' 1st through 3rd municipal districts has been extended through December 31, 2026. Golden visa thresholds have been raised in the hottest markets. These moves are signals that policymakers finally see what residents have been saying for years. This is not normal market recovery, it is displacement. But regulation is a brake, not a time machine. It can slow the car, it cannot undo the crash. So what would it take to make Greece livable again? Fixing impossible means rebuilding parts of the economy that do not rely on outsiders bidding against locals. On housing, that means treating long-term living as the priority, not the side effect. Tighter limits where pressure is extreme, serious enforcement, and more supply where people actually work. It also means making it rational to rent long-term again, predictable taxes, targeted incentives, and penalties for leaving units empty in high-demand zones. But housing will not solve it alone, because Greece's crisis is also a wage crisis. A country cannot keep its teachers, nurses, and engineers if the best financial decision is always to leave. Minimum wage increases help, but they do not erase a decade where purchasing power was shredded. The gap between what people earn and what life costs is now the defining feature of the era. When that gap persists, everything becomes a coping strategy. Delaying family, delaying independence, delaying life. The real fix is boring, and that is why it is rare. It is building year-round industries that pay year-round wages, and making it easier for productive businesses to survive. Then comes the quiet consequence: identity. A city changes when the people who keep it alive cannot live there. Neighborhoods become themed. Buildings fill with suitcases instead of relationships. In the short term, it looks like prosperity. In the long term, it looks like a place that functions as a product. Greece did not become impossible overnight. It became impossible one contract at a time, one apartment listing at a time, one departure at a time, until the country's greatest assets felt like someone else's home. And once the local middle class cannot plan, a society starts to fracture. When housing consumes a very large share of income, everything else, education, love, gets postponed, and postponement becomes a habit.